Thank you for taking the time to be here with us. And I would love to know where you're coming from. So you can just put that in the chat box where you're watching us from today. And we'll get started in a couple of minutes. Wow, Guatemala. Very nice. Mato Grosso do Sul, from São Paulo. Lovely to have you guys here. Cuiabá. Nice. Ah, the Mineiros are here. Lovely. Just waiting for people to join us, and then we'll start 4 p.m. sharp. From Peru. Thank you for watching us today. Welcome. From Curitiba. Wow. From Taiwan. That's amazing. 3 a.m. That's commitment. Nice. Okay, I guess most of us are here already. Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm Rebecca Rios. I'm a YouTube presenter for Cambridge University Press and Assessment. I'm also a speaker. I've been an English teacher for over 15 years. I'm completely in love with very young learners, primary until secondary, but primary is my biggest jam. And I'm really glad to be here today sharing a bit more of phonics with you guys and the new Kids Box generation material. So, everybody here is really welcome. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch us today. And a couple of reminders, this session is being recorded and it will also be available on the YouTube after the session. And you will also receive a certificate for watching it in your email. Okay. And you are welcome to share ideas and thoughts in the chat box. I won't be able to monitor the chat box during our talk because I'll be giving the talk, but you are welcome to put questions and then it will show up in the question box if you close it with a question mark. Okay. So if you have any questions, please don't forget to put it with a question mark. And then at the end of the session, we'll have a Q&A. All right. So let's get started. Let me divide my screen here. Let me see if I can see you guys. There we go. Okay. I think I can see everybody and see my screen, right? You guys can see my screen. So this session is going to be about teaching phonics can be fun. And then we're going to talk about the new features of phonics in the Kids Box New Generation material. Okay. So, on our agenda for this webinar, we're going to first talk about what is phonics. Maybe you've heard of it, maybe you haven't. Maybe I'll give you a new definition that you hadn't thought about. Then we're going to see why is teaching phonics important. So, is it important? Is it not? Why is it important? Why isn't phonics usually a priority? Maybe you do teach it, maybe you don't, but it's almost never a teacher priority. And then I'll give you some examples of how we can make phonics fun. And then some games and activities with phonics. And our goals here today is to understand what is phonics, understand the multiple benefits of teaching phonics, and learn how to incorporate phonics in young learner classes. So these are our goals. And then at the end, we'll check if we've hit all those marks as well. But before we start, I wanted to ask you a question, okay? So I wanted to get to know you a little bit. Unfortunately, I cannot see you. So I wanted to get to know you guys a little bit. So I want to ask two questions, okay? There's a poll that's going to appear for you guys with two questions. So the first one is, what ages do you teach? And you can choose more than one option. And then if you teach phonics, yes or no. Okay, so if you please would be so kind to answer those questions for me, I'll give you a couple minutes to do that. Okay, we have some people answering the chat box as well. Nice. Oh, so we got a very varied um, group here. Nice. Okay, and we also have a very different, a very varied uh, perspective on teaching phonics. So uh, about half of you do and half of you don't. Okay, no phonics yet from 3 to 6. Nice, Danielle. Very nice. Thank you. Vowel sounds. Okay, nice. Okay. Don't forget to vote. Okay, I'll give you a couple more minutes. Most of our teachers today are adult teachers. Interesting. And 7 to 11 years old. This is my favorite age. From 7 to 11. Love primary. Depending on the teaching group. Okay, nice. Thank you, Luis Antonio. Okay, so we have a very mixed group of teachers here that go from very young learners to adults. And we also have a big mixture of yes, I do, and no, I don't teach phonics. Okay. From my experience, sometimes people do teach it, but they don't prioritize it. They use it, if I have time, I'll teach phonics, or if I have a spare class someday, then I'll teach phonics. It's not a priority. Okay, so we're gonna hopefully change your mind on that and make it a priority as well. Thank you so much for participating. I will be closing the votes right now. I wanted to get to know you a little bit and to have you see this perspective on teaching phonics. So I can share the results. You can see the results there now. Um, so we have very mixed age group here, but all of these activities you can always adapt, even for adults. They love to play games as well, make things fun. So all of these activities you can adapt as well. Okay, thank you very much. Let me go back to my screen. There we go. So when we think about phonics, the first thing we need to think about is what is phonics, right? So I went to the Cambridge Dictionary, and the Cambridge Dictionary said that phonics is a method of teaching people to read based on learning the sounds that letters represent. So here we have a very important key, like teaching people to read. So what do we need before we read? We need to learn the sounds of the letters, right? So Wiley Blevins gives a very nice explanation that I like as well that says that phonics involves the relationship between sounds and their spelling. So when we teach phonics, we're teaching the relationship. It's not just a printed word. There's a there's a sound behind that word. So this is what phonics is. And why is teaching phonics important? So, if we think about the English language, approximately 84% of all English words are phonetically regular. So this is important because once you teach a phoneme or a phonetic rule, the student has a bigger chance of getting the word right the next time he sees it, or a different word that has the same pattern, because 84% of the English words are phonetically regular. And the ones that aren't phonetically regular, they still have some kinds of rules or clues to help you also take the meaning and the sound from that word as well. So this means that learning phonemes helps in the development of important abilities in English, like reading, writing, and speaking. Phonics can be the foundation for all of these abilities in English. So if we are primary teachers, very young learners, or even secondary, and we give our students a nice base a very strong foundation on phonics, they will be better and they will excel more in these abilities when they get to those stages of reading, of writing, and of speaking. So that's why it's important. So for reading, the first goal in reading is automatic word recognition. So the person would see, the child sees the word, for example, here, and he knows that this says kids, right? So the first goal is to automatically recognize a word. This means that we need to decode words, converting them from the printed word into the spoken language in an accurate manner. So when we teach phonics to young learners, they can decode words much faster and better. So they read, they become faster readers. Also in writing, once they've learned how to decode the words and they start to learn spelling rules through phonics, they can feel more comfortable writing. So they'll excel best in writing once they know the sounds and the spelling rules as well. And we also have speaking. So phonics gives pupils a model for them to repeat and recognize patterns and sounds in English. And this helps them speak more confidently. So when we teach phonics, we are showing our students how to make that sound. It's not just a printed word, it's the sound. How do you make that sound? And then we practice not necessarily a word, but we practice the sound. And when we do that, we give them a model so they'll be able to speak more confidently. And then my question is, um, why don't teachers prioritize teaching phonics in the classroom? So, as I told you in the beginning, I feel that sometimes teachers actually do teach phonics, but it's not a priority. And when I was a coordinator, a bilingual program coordinator, I heard one of my teachers says, "Ah, I don't teach phonics. I think it's a waste of time." And I was actually kind of shocked. So I was thinking about reasons why don't teachers teach phonics in the classroom, or why don't they prioritize it in the classroom? So maybe they learned English as a second language as adults, and phonics is different for children. So if you learned English as an adult, you're probably familiar with this, or if you've taken any of the TKT exams, the first TKT exam from Cambridge that you have to memorize the whole phonetic alphabet, you've probably seen this image, and then you think to yourself, how am I going to teach this to a child? How am I going to teach this to my young learners? So it's very different the way you teach phonics to adults to the way you teach to children. Maybe they are self conscious about their own pronunciation. So maybe they think, oh, I don't know if my pronunciation is 100% accurate. What if I teach my students the wrong way to pronounce a word? So they might feel self-conscious about their own pronunciation. We know that when we learn a language as adults, we feel more self-conscious. I learned English when I was a child, when I lived in the United States from 8 to 11 years old. So I was never afraid to speak English. But then when I was in university, I took French classes, and I'm terrified to speak French close to other people who speak French. So I feel very self conscious about it. So if we learn English as adults, if you learn English as an adult, you might feel self conscious about your own pronunciation, or they might not see the point in doing it. So that teacher that said to me, "Oh, I don't teach phonics. I think it's a waste of time just to repeat a bunch of words that don't make any sense." So they might not see the point in doing it. So these are some reasons. I saw some people in the chat write lack of time. Sometimes, if you are separating a specific moment for that, and then you don't have time for it, maybe you'll have lack of time. But you can incorporate phonics explanations and games. We'll see this throughout the webinar, that you can incorporate it in every class, or in most classes you can incorporate phonics. So it doesn't have specifically to be one moment, one phonics class. You can, but it doesn't necessarily have to be that way. So Today we're going to talk about the new Kids Box. It's the Kids Box New Generation. So this is, if I'm not mistaken, the third edition. So there was the first edition, the second edition, and then they have this one now. That's the new generation. And I've been using Kids Box for 5 years, and I was thrilled when I got to see the new Kids Box because I feel that they really heard teachers and what teachers needed, what was missing, and what students needed as well. So, Kids Box is a Cambridge series that's available in English and British, American English and British English. And we have, it's a a 7 level course. So, we have from the starter, that would be kindergarten until the 6th grade. And you can see that the characters of the book, they grow, they evolve as the children grow through primary school as well. Um, so, first thing that's different now in Kids Box New Generation is that there is a specific part for sounds and spelling. If you've already used Kids Box before, you've probably seen that there was a phonics part, but it was not necessarily connected to what was being taught, or there was no explanation on it. It was just repeating a couple of phrases. So now these sounds and these spelling rules, they are contextualized sounds and expressions. They are all part of a bigger picture that students have been studying already or that they have seen in that unit. So it makes sense for them to see those words and expressions. And there are age appropriate exercises. So this is something new that's from the Kids Box New Generation, is that now there are exercises to practice the phonetic rules and the spelling rules that they will learn. And they are age appropriate. So here we have one from book one, that would be 1st grade. And then here we have one from book five, that would be 5th grade. So here they have to repeat the words, they're smaller phrases, and then here they already have to distinguish the sounds between regular verbs in the past ending. So if this sounds like a t or a d or an ed. So these age appropriate exercises make it more attractive for students to take part in the activities. They're not all very childish, so they evolve and they grow as the students get older as well. And then I'm going to show you a video from level one. Okay. I'm going to show you the whole video and then we'll discuss specific parts of the explanation. So notice how this is built now in like a whole explanation, and how this is very rich for students to learn the sound and to practice all in one video. Okay. So we'll watch the whole video and then I'll explain each part of it.
La 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 la. It's Monty's sounds and spelling. 6 snakes in t-shirts. 7 sheep in socks and shoes. What can you see? Say it with me. 6 snakes in t-shirts. 7 sheep in socks and shoes.
Where's the s? Shh. Shh. Where's the sh? That's right. S and sh. 6 snakes and 7 sheep. 6 snakes in t-shirts. 7 sheep in socks and shoes. 6. 7. snake. S, sock. Sh, sheep. Sh, t-shirt. Sh, shoe.
6 snakes in t-shirts. 7 sheep in socks and shoes. What can you see? Say it with me. 6 snakes in t-shirts. 7 sheep in socks and shoes. One more time. You sound fine. 6 snakes in t-shirts. 7 sheep in socks and shoes.
Watch again and say.
6 snakes in t-shirts. 7 sheep in socks and shoes. What can you see? Say it with me. 6 snakes in t-shirts. 7 sheep in socks and shoes.
S, s. Where's this? Sh, sh. Where's the sh? That's right. S and sh. 6 snakes and 7 sheep. 6 snakes in t-shirts. 7 sheep in socks and shoes. S, 6. S, 7. S, snake. S, sock. Sh, sheep. Sh, t-shirt. Sh, shoe.
6 snakes in t-shirts. 7 sheep in socks and shoes. What can you see? Say it with me. 6 snakes in t-shirts. 7 sheep in socks and shoes. One more time. You sound fine. 6 snakes in t-shirts. 7 sheep in socks and shoes.
All right, so this is a very nice way to teach phonics because before we just had the audio that we used to play and maybe we had some pictures, but now there's this whole construction. So we'll go step by step and explaining exactly how it goes step by step teaching phonics. So first thing, before even the video, in the teacher's guide, there's going to be an objective. So recognize, contrast, and practice the sounds of s and sh, and practice writing the letters S and SH. So here you already know what is the goal of your class for that day is for them to be able to identify, to recognize, to contrast, compare it, and to practice these sounds as well as their spellings. So there's a warmer where they would have to remember things they have studied in this unit. I'll show you later exactly how that connects to what they've seen during that unit. But you can see that if it's book one, if it's students that are 7 years old, more or less, for first grade, these are words that they would be familiar. It's not just any word that you're teaching the sound, they're words that they are familiar with. So the first thing that they do is they show both the alphabetic symbol when it's the sound of the letter, as well as the phonetic symbol. So we're not just throwing them the phonetic alphabet and say, hey, memorize these sounds. No, you can see it, they can see it, and they can hear it. So they know that when they see this, kind of swiggly, snaky thing, they'll know that this is shh because they've heard it a bunch of times, seeing that symbol. My students loved because I said it was kind of like our secret language. So it was like our secret code or secret language that people didn't understand, people who didn't speak English or who didn't know the phonetic alphabet. So they loved that we had our secret language. And then we could spell words phonetically. So that was nice. And then the S is the sound of the letters. So they recognize both the alphabetical symbol as well as the phonetic symbol, but with context. They're seeing the image, they're hearing the sound, and they can look at the symbols. And then here, again, there's a highlight on which sound it is. So here I see the phonetic symbol, and here I see the spelling. So I know that when I see this, it represents SH. It represents the sh sound. So this is the sh sound. This is good for them to visualize. Young learners, they need to visualize things from a spelling perspective, right? From the phonetic symbol as well as the spelling perspective. And then something that I personally loved in this material is the mouth, tongue, and lip positioning model. So for those teachers who are not so confident about your own pronunciation, this is great because you can look at a human, at a person giving a model, and you can practice it at home. So like she did, she was like, shh. So I know when I need to make the shh sound, I need to like make this shape with my mouth, and my tongue goes under my lower teeth, my bottom teeth. So I go shh or and then there has to be a little air that comes out. So teachers can practice like the th sound. Put your tongue behind your two front teeth, and then you kind of blow it. So you can practice it. And this would also have been very helpful during the pandemic where we all had to wear masks when we came back to the classroom, and students could not see my mouth, tongue, and lip positioning. And then this would have been very helpful because I wouldn't have to remove my mask, or they wouldn't be able to see it, but they could see it in this video. So this is another very nice thing that they have because pronunciation or phonics is basically that. You also teach pronunciation. So how do I make the sound? How do I articulate and make that sound? And then how do we make phonics fun? How do we make it fun? We can't just give them the phonetic alphabet and say, memorize this, you'll have a test next week. They won't memorize it or they won't see the point in doing it. So it's not only teaching the sounds, there needs to be context and it needs to be relevant to them. So it needs to be something that's connected to what they already know. So it can't just be like loose words, it needs to be connected. So this is what I've seen from unit. This is unit 8 from book 1. And ta-da! This is the first page of the unit. So in this unit, they learned the names of clothes. Okay, and probably these two animals, they already knew the names of these two animals. So they have studied the names of clothes. You see here t-shirt, skirt, socks, shoes, shorts. So they've seen names of clothes. And then here they're going to put together what they've studied and learned, clothes, with sounds and recycling language that they have already learned. So look at how rich a simple exercise, a simple phonics exercise is. You are reviewing content that you've learned in this unit, you are recycling language that you already knew, and you are practicing phonics. So with one simple exercise, you're doing a whole bunch of things. So all of the sounds and spelling pages of all the units, they are connected to the language that was taught in that unit. And then something else that is interesting, I'm going to show you just a little part of the Kids Box level 4 now. This level 4 is already with a different character. So here we have lock and key. If you are not familiar with the Kids Box, they already existed before. They weren't in the phonics section, but in the story section, they are two detectives. They're not actually very good detectives, but they're very funny detectives. So my students love Lock and Key, and they'll be very thrilled once we start using the Kids Box New Generation, because they'll also be a part of phonics with Lock and Key. So I'm just going to show you a little part, and then we'll see how what are other ways that we can make it fun.
R, R,
Oh, who's there, Lock? Go and see. Turn the key. Aha! A good detective looks and listens. What can you hear, Key?
R, R,
R, r. What can you see, Key?
Forest. R. Parrots. R. Grass. R. River. R.
In the forest, parrots sit on the grass by the river. In the forest, parrots sit on the grass by the river.
So you see again, in a more evolved way for older children. Now they're looking for clues to find the sounds and the words and connect the sound with the spelling. But what's interesting here is that they put two different characters to pronounce the word, and then one has a low voice register, and the other has a kind of like a high pitchy um, voice register. And you can think about, especially boys at this age, that they are maybe sometimes already changing their voices or they feel shy. So this is supposed to be a very funny way to do it. And then you can practice with your students. Okay, let's everybody say with a lower register. In the forest, parrots sit on the grass by the river. Okay, let's everybody say with a high pitch. In the forest, parrots sit on the grass by the river. So you can have fun with it, and it could be sort of like the safe environment where everybody's like saying a silly phrase that doesn't necessarily have to make sense, but they're practicing that sound in a safe environment where they're having fun. So this is the evolution of the sounds and spelling for the older levels. And then this here in level 4, you have longer phrases and you have a picture to support your phonics phrase. So it doesn't necessarily have to make sense, but they'll definitely memorize it because they're words that they are familiar with, but they're funny. Why would parrots sit on the grass by the river? Why would they watch their bread so crocodiles can't steal their dinner? So it's a very funny and memorable way to teach these sounds. And then yes, Carmen, it's British and American English. Okay, I've used here the British version, but Kids Box has a British and American version. And then, so having fun plays a big part in learning, okay? Emotions play a key role in learning. Release of certain chemicals like dopamine, adrenaline, serotonin, and others makes growth of neural networks possible. So, the more your students are engaged, the more your students are interested and are having fun, they are emotionally connected to your class, the more they will learn, the more they will make these connections, or the stronger these neural networks will be. And then I love this phrase by Herbert Pukta. He's another author by Cambridge. And then this he said at a talk in 2015, and I took that to heart, and I follow that in all my classes. It says that the brain needs emotion to learn. So how are we causing emotion in our students to learn? Are we making them laugh? Are we showing them a good time? Are they being safe with each other and speaking in a safe environment? So how can we have fun with phonics? Here are some ideas that have worked for me, and then maybe I can share it with you and they'll work for you as well. So, rhymes like the ones that we saw in the phonics explanation, or you can think about other rhymes or chants. So, rhyming is very good because you practice that sound over and over again, especially the ending sound if that's what you're teaching. Chants like the one we saw in the kids box, new generation sounds and spelling. Tongue twisters, students love tongue twisters. So for example, the one with the S and the sh sound, this and sh, you could teach them the she sells seashells by the seashore, and then you can say that slowly, and then they can say it faster, and then you can have a competition who can say it faster without messing up that sound. And this is actually like a muscle practice of making those sounds, those articulations. So this is very, very good. It's not something silly. It's not a waste of time. It's very, very important. And it's good exercise to make those sounds, especially sounds that are not native to your learners. And then something else that you could do is you could play games. I love playing games with my students. So they can be online games or they can be in person games. And then one of the games that I love to play is get everybody in a line. So we have students in a line. And then I point to one side. So this side is sh and this side is s. And then when I say a word, you need to jump to what side of the sound that I'm saying the word. So if I say socks, everybody has to jump this side. And if I say shoes, everybody has to jump to this side. So it's a good energy building activity that gets everybody moving and they can create rapport with the class, as well as the weaker students can follow the example of the stronger students. You could do it saying, or you can do it showing the symbol. So you don't say and you just put the S here and the symbol, the phonetic symbol for sh, and then you say the word and they have to jump. So they can visualize the phonetic symbol as well. So there are many kinds of activities that you can do, that you can have fun with phonics and play games. And this is something that students love. And they're learning something that will help them to read, that will help them to write, that will help them to speak more confidently in a very fun environment. And then after you've showed the video, you've practiced, you've repeated those sounds over and over again, there's always going to be an activity, like I said in the beginning, that is age appropriate, but it's something that they're going to practice both spelling as well as speaking. So this is from the same unit that I showed you the video, the from Monty's video, Monty's sound and spelling. So we have a bunch of animals that they already know the names of. They are wearing clothes that they learned in that unit, and then they can say the numbers, they can say colors. So a lot of recycling language in a fun way to practice these sounds. So if the teacher says they've got red T-shirts, the students would say the monkeys. They've got white T-shirts. They could say the crocodiles. Um, uh, he's got yellow shoes or yellow slippers. Then we could say the bear. So this is a good way that the teacher can say this and students can answer, or they can play in pairs. They can practice more of these sounds. They can play in pairs. And then there's also a writing exercise. So imagine 6, 7 year olds, they would just have to write the first letter or the first two letters that are related to the sound. So here, what part of clothing is this? Oh, they are shoes. How many shoes do we have? One, two, three, four, five, six. So we have six shoes. Then they would have to write the S and the SH, which are the two sounds that they've learned. So here they're remembering numbers, they're remembering colors, they're remembering the names of the animals, they're practicing the sounds, and they're also practicing the clothes names, all in one exercise. So they are very, very complete. This is not something you can skip and not something you can do if you have time. You need to make time because this is very, very rich to do so. And then as they get older, this is from book 4, from the one that we saw with Lock and Key, the phrases get more complex, and then they have to write the whole word. So, what's the big crocodile doing? It's sitting by the river. And then what's the little crocodile doing? Oh, it's swimming in the river. So here we're also reviewing um, prepositions, we're reviewing animals, we are talking about ing forms, and as well as practicing the phonetic sounds that we learned in this unit. So it's fun and it's also relevant. And after all of that, if you still have time and you still want to practice, or if you want to incorporate it in other classes, there are also extra activities that you can do with these sounds in the teacher's resource book from the material in Kids Box New Generation. So you don't have to create anything unless you want to, but you don't have to create anything because it's all there. So we have memory pairs and then animals and clothes. They're going to draw. So they're going to draw animals and clothes, and then they're going to show it to the rest of the class. So they'll show it, and probably they'll use the sounds that they've learned in that unit as well. And then if you still want more activities, I saw someone earlier ask about if you can teach it online. Yes, of course you can teach it online. You can use these videos. You can use the mouth, tongue, lip positioning. And there's also now new phonics practice in the Cambridge One platform. So they can listen to words and they can record themselves saying it. And then the platform gives them you're doing great, or your pronunciation needs to get a little better. So they have instant feedback on what they need. Okay. So for today, our goals were to understand what is phonics, understand the multiple benefits of teaching phonics, and learn how to incorporate phonics in young learners' classes. So we saw what is phonics, that's a check. We saw why it's important. Don't miss out on all of this that you can teach to your students and help them evolve in reading, writing, and speaking. Okay. And then why we understood why sometimes it's not a priority. We saw lots of ways we can make it fun as well, and some ideas of activities with phonics as well. Okay. And then here's my bibliography if you want to take a screenshot of it. There are a couple books here that really helped me get better with my phonics teaching. And if you if you want, you can take a screenshot of that. And now, thank you for coming, and I'll take some questions from the question box. Eurico, I will send you my personal email, okay? Um, Let me see here. Some of my students, let me just get out of my presentation here so I can see. Here we go. Some of my students use phonetic rules to say words that they have learned. However, they have forgotten their meaning. What should I do? Exactly. You can have these words spread out in the classroom. Thank you for your question. Let me just see who is that. Oh, I couldn't see the name. Sorry. So um, some of these words they can be spread out, but the most important is use words that students already know. Teach phonics with words that they already know. Don't teach new words to teach the sound. Find words that they already know that have that sound. That's what context is so important. Um, Let me see other questions here. Teenagers and adult learners, you can um, there's material like this. I don't know if there's specific materials. You can probably get in touch with Cambridge University Press to see if there are materials like this for teenagers or for young learners, for young adult learners. Probably it's not as fun, or there aren't as many activities, but you can definitely adapt these activities so you can use them with older students and adults as well. Let me see if there are any other questions. Yes, there is an American version to it. You can use it to teach it online. During the COVID period, I actually preferred using it so students could see my mouth in the camera and they could make the sound as well. Any other questions? I'm gonna pop my email here in the chat box if you want to get in touch with me. Let me just check if it's correct. Okay. So my email is in the chat box if you want to get in touch with me. And there's a button there for you to get to know more about Kidsbox New Generation. And thank you all so much for coming. It's been a real pleasure sharing my experience with you guys, and hopefully you'll prioritize phonics in your classes. Thanks, everybody. I'll see you soon. Bye bye.